Will women
like
will women be as
ideologically based.
will women be as good at engineering as men, person for person?
Not necessarily, but
Okay, well then, how is that different than the Secret Service example?
well, the problem is that
Because
for
the male mind is wired different than the female mind. By the way, men will never be as good. Hold on, I'll prove it to you. Men will never be as good at counseling or psychology sessions as women. Men will never be good at nursing or elementary school education as women. We have certain giftings because our brain is wired a certain way. Women are far better gifted at micro topics, so individual connection, empathetic type conversations, healing people that past trauma and wound. Men are much better at macro topics, right? Trying to build a building, put a skyscraper up, trying to talk geopolitics. And I'll prove it to you. When you go and you see 5 women eating lunch, they're probably talking about micro topics, conversations they had, relationships, friendships. Men, they're talking about politics, sports, or the stock market.
that's not necessarily
Oh,
true.
yes. You guys all agree, right?
I mean, there's a
In this first clip, Charlie Kirk shuts down the debater with facts and ultimatum questions. Charlie Kirk hasn't yet shut down the debater with the Google search. He actually waits and does it in the next clip. The woman starts off the debate with the thoughts of talking about the woman's equal rights, and to which Charlie Kirk pretty quickly shuts this down and says he can prove it. The girl that the women mind will never be where the man mind is, just like how the man mind will never be where the woman is. We both specialize in different gifts, an example being women will never be good in engineering as men are, and men will never be good at psychology, just like how women are. Charlie Kirk kind of shuts down the debater most of the time. Go ahead and watch to see.
Hi, Charlie.
You are right. I will. 1 sec. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just have a question kind of based on affirmative action. I'm a computer engineer here at UW-Madison. I'm about to graduate. And there's a lot that I've found through research and just general, I guess, my studies. Not only does affirmative action like help, minorities, people of color, but also women in general. And there's a lot of facets of engineering, the medical system, and other factors that, because of affirmative action, have helped. I'll just go into something. For example, let's say like in the medical field, endometriosis, something like that has not been studied in women due to so little women being in the medical field. Also, for example, like cars, the seatbelt is made especially for the male body. They're only tested with male mannequins, so a lot of women are in risk of dying in car crashes at a higher rate. There's a lot of things that benefit from a diverse group of people, both in engineering and medical fields and education and other facets of the systems. And I was just wondering, without affirmative action, how do you think we can bring these people in to bring a variety of opinions?
Yeah, no, I
and
mean,
views?
just have a meritocracy, right? So you have 3 white men around you. You can see 1, 2, 3. So if one
a lot
supports
around me.
affirmative, no, it's okay. If one supports affirmative action,
Right.
it would mean that you would be okay turning to those 3 men and saying, I deserve the position more than you based on something that doesn't matter more
Not
than something that does
necessarily.
matter.
I feel like that's one facet of it that we're not also paying attention to, is that people that are graduating from the same schools. They're graduating with the same degrees.
With lower test scores, though, much lower. Every study of affirmative action, for example, the Harvard case showed that it was nearly 40% lower test scores for people of color versus their white male counterparts and Asian counterparts.
And so,
So
how
at
can
some point-
is that like why would that happen? Do you think
why?
it's yeah?
Why
What
would it
causes
happen?
that? Do you think it's just because like
Well,
people of color are more like stupid?
No,
or,
of
like,
course not.
Right.
I mean, people of color come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds that
Exactly.
don't prioritize education as
so
much.
how do we
But
fix
that's
those
not,
socioeconomic statuses?
Right, that's an interesting point. Not should we try to penalize white males that are competent to go run our systems and our institutions. So
Right.
those are 2 different things.
Right.
So what we're doing is our institutions are now becoming less excellent. Our country is not working like it used to because we basically told people that are very qualified and very competent that, sorry, we're not going to put a position for you here.
The woman starts off the debate, obviously coming on to talk about woman rights. She first starts by saying she has a question about affirmative action and says through her research she's found that the affirmative action helps minorities, people of color, and also women in general, and says affirmative action is the cause for many things, and includes some examples with the first one being that some things in women are not being studied and looked into because of the low rate being so low of female medical workers and just in general. Before Charlie Kirk shuts down the debater, he lets her talk about her ideas and opinions, to which the woman follows and brings up the issue that for cars, the seatbelts are only tested specifically with men mannequins and not female mannequins, which cause the female driver's crash to most likely be more fatal than the male driver crashing. The woman's final question is asking Charlie Kirk is how he thinks affirmative action can bring people to a variety of more opinions. Charlie Kirk shuts down the debater before the Google search and tells her that she is basically telling 3 men that she deserves the position more for something that don't matter more than they do, which actually didn't break her movement. And she kept going on and says that everybody goes to the same school and graduates from the same place. And again, Charlie Kirk shuts down the debater and says that the Harvard case shows affirmative action graduates. but they graduate with much lower test scores, as have studies shown. Studies shown that colored people's test scores are 40% lower than the white counterpart or Asian counterpart. Charlie Kirk goes on to say that they have lower test scores before of their economic backgrounds, that don't prioritize education much, and says, due to all this, the country isn't working how it used to and has been doing down.
For example, the U.S. Secret Service. Let me just give you one example, okay? We can all agree that protecting a president, whether it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, is super important, right? But now the Secret Service has said that we want to have 30% of all our agents be women, which, by the way, they have lower fitness criteria. So they have less pull-ups, less push-ups, slower mile time.
That's something that's due to like your
hold on.
Like, genetics.
Exactly. Yeah, no, but this is affirmative action, right? And so therefore,
there's like fields like I don't think that's a good. One second. I just don't think that's a good example because like women will never be as strong as men, at least genetically.
So that's an interesting question.
So I think it should be something that's more like endologically based.
Will women be as good at engineering as men, person for person?
Not necessarily, but...
Okay, well then, how is that different than the Secret Service example?
Well, the problem is that...
Because the male mind is wired different than the female mind. By the way, men will never be as good... Hold on, I'll prove it to you. Men will never be as good at counseling or psychology sessions as women. Men will never be good at nursing or elementary school education as women. We have certain giftings because our brain is wired a certain way. Women are far better gifted at micro topics, so individual connection, empathetic type conversations, healing people that past trauma and wound. Men are much better at macro topics, right? Trying to build a building, put a skyscraper up, trying to talk geopolitics. And I'll prove it to you. When you go and you see 5 women eating lunch, they're probably talking about micro topics, conversations they had, relationships, friendships. Men, they're talking about politics, sports, or the stock market.
That's not necessarily
true. Oh,
true.
yes. You guys all agree, right?
I mean, there's a reason.
These are bimodal general truths, right? Of course, there's exceptions, but
it's not a general truth, though. I feel like women have the capability of having political conversations.
Of course they do, but it's not the general wiring or nature of women.
It's not. There's no wiring for your brain to like Donald Trump. Like that's not a real thing. I feel like.
But wait a second. But do you think that men and women are made different in our brains?
Certain things, but not necessarily. It doesn't channel you to be a specific thing.
Like what things?
Well, like there's specific wirings to produce certain types of hormones, and that's differences that are genetically.
So you don't think that men are more likely to like contact sports, more likely to enjoy football, UFC, hunting?
I think that's because of a societal norm in general. Over a lot of time.
No, come on, you're smarter than that. That's not true. Well, hold on. So why is it
there's women that play football? So you can't just say that.
And there are men that dress in drag, but those are not the general truth of it. So let me just be clear. You think that there's nothing within the female brain in its constitution that makes young ladies more likely...
I mean, being that I'm an engineer, I don't think so. No. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I feel like there's...
So you think if you pick a random lady here, that they'd be just as comfortable sitting and watching a 4-hour football game than they were to go get their hair done with their best girlfriend?
Well, I feel like that's kind of diminishing to say, because you're a woman, you will not be able to sit through a 4-hour football field.
Is it diminishing to say a man wouldn't want to go get his hair done? No.
No, I'm sure you get your hair done, right?
Not really. It's like 10 minutes in and out, like barbershop.
Okay, but you still do it.
But the point, again, there are certain things that women will take more seriously. For example, women will take a lot longer getting ready for the day than men.
Yeah.
Right? Why?
Because we're held to higher standards to
look
pretty.
No.
For example, your hair. How short is your hair? It's super short. Mine, it's gonna take longer to dry.
Do you wear makeup?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you want to look pretty, and it takes.
Yeah, that's not important to me because I'm a man.
Well, right. But who made you feel that way?
But there's something in your
wiring.
wiring.
But you feel comfortable not wearing makeup because of a certain reason.
Well, but you wouldn't feel comfortable wearing makeup?
I can not wear makeup.
But why do you do it?
I mean, right now I'm not wearing anything really.
No, I know, but that's the point, is that at some point you wear makeup because there's something within your wiring that says, I want to be presentable to the world, and that wiring honestly is, I want to find a mate to have children.
This question was about affirmative action. I think we're getting
No, it's not. It's actually really important because...
Charlie Kirk shuts down the angry debater and gives her an example for her question, saying that the Secret Service has recently said they only want 30% of their agents to be women due to them having lower fitness criterias being less pull-ups, less push-ups, and slower mile times, and the woman agrees to his point and says, OFC women would never be as strong as men because it's genetics. Charlie Kirk again shuts down the debater, and they kind of go back and forth right here, talking about the wiring of the brain and the routes that we are chosen to follow. The woman tells Charlie Kirk that men liking sports, politics, and more is because it is the society norm, which I completely don't disagree on. Do you think she's speaking facts? Or is she completely wrong? The Women says it is diminishing for Charlie Kirk to say that just because they are a woman, they wouldn't sit through a 4-hour football game. And the whole topic kind of goes off until Charlie Kirk proves his claim by making a point that men don't care about makeup or wouldn't wear makeup because it isn't wired into their brain just like how a football game normally would be, and asks her why she wears makeup and says the society today makes him feel comfortable not wearing makeup, not the wiring. But Charlie Kirk shuts down the angry debater with a simple Google search after ending the video. So go ahead, leave a like and subscribe. And as always, this is media to your door. Goodbye.